Hi, I'm Samantha Heil, Executive Director of Book Fair at Bel Air, and I'd love to invite you to one of the biggest bookish events in the region. Join us on Saturday, August 8th, 2026 from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at APG FCU Arena at Hartford Community College for a free, family-friendly event celebrating books, readers, and community. Book Fair at Bel Air features more than 110 authors and vendors, best-selling featured authors, kids' activities, face painting, story time, arts and crafts, photo ops, and plenty of fun for readers of all ages. Whether you're a lifelong reader, raising future bookworms, or just looking for a unique day out with the family, there's something for everyone at Book Fair at Bel Air. Learn more at www.bookfairatbelair.org or follow us on Instagram at Book Fair at Bel Air. We hope to see you there this August.
Coming to you from the Freedom Federal Credit Union Studios, Hartford County Living presents Conversations with Rich Bennett.
Slow pitch or fast
I never played softball. It's probably the least sexy part of organizing. No. The truth is,
What happens when a Baptist pastor trades the pulpit for a badge? When a man who once preached sermons finds himself interrogating terrorists, serving on an FBI SWAT team, and investigating everything from crimes against children to counterterrorism. Today's guest has lived a life that sounds more like a Hollywood screenplay than reality. Eric Robinson spent 12 years in Christian ministry before making a dramatic career change that led him to serve 24 years as an FBI special agent. Along the way, he worked some of the Bureau's toughest cases, served as a firearms and tactics instructor, spent 15 years on SWAT, and helped bring justice to victims of financial crimes, civil rights violations, child exploitation, and terrorism. Yet through it all, he never lost sight of the values that first led him into ministry: service, compassion, and the pursuit of justice. As Eric writes in his memoir, he went from preaching sermons to interrogating terrorists, from carrying a Bible to carrying a rifle, and from breaking down barriers to the gospel to breaking down doors. Now retired from the FBI and preparing to release his first book, Irreverent, Eric is sharing the humorous, surprising, heartbreaking, and inspiring stories from a life spent serving others in two very different callings. So whether you're fascinated by law enforcement, curious about faith and purpose, or simply love hearing incredible real-life stories, you're going to want to hear this conversation. So grab your bourbon, grab your coffee, grab your water, whatever it is you're drinking, buckle up and sit there, because I have a funny feeling this is going to be a nice ride. How's it going, Eric?
It's going to be a nice ride. Just keep talking. I'll send you more material. You keep saying great things about me. That's the only reason I do this.
I'm getting tongue-tied this morning, though, man. I don't know what's going on. Lack of sleep. Maybe I only had one cup of coffee.
Yeah, that might be it.
That could be it. All right, I want to get right into this because I'll be honest, when I first heard your story, I thought, how does someone go from leading a church on Sunday morning to serving warrants and working FBI investigations?
Yeah.
So,
I preached my last sermon in my church Easter Sunday, 2002. I was in the FBI Academy the next Sunday. And then, then the Sunday after that, I preached in the chapel at the FBI Academy because they didn't have a chaplain and asked if I could fill in.
Well, all right. Wait, so is that why you went to the FBI Academy?
No. Here we are, a class of new agents trying to get to know people's names. And, I used to be a pastor, people telling their background. And then I get approached afterwards like, hey, our usual chaplain's out. Do you think you could preach on Sunday? I'm like, yeah. had my wife email me an old sermon, like, here we go.
So, but what was it that, because you were preaching for a while.
Yeah.
So what pulled you to the FBI? I know a lot of people, it's like after military or whatever.
Yeah.
But
so
what was it for you?
Well, so I'll tell you, but I'll pause you. I will do trainings for law enforcement, for cops, guys who come in that don't know me. I'm throwing a few jokes, telling a few dirty stories, and I'd have an FBI patch, and I'd say, hey, if you can guess what I did before I joined the FBI, you get a patch, and everybody gets one guess. And people go around and, guys are like, oh, you were a Marine. I'm like, why would I give you a patch if you guessed I was former military? Like, why is nobody should? And then one guy got it because he's like, oh, I noticed you have some tattoos that, had religious theme. And I went off board with it. I'm like, there you go. First time guy's going to guess right.
Wow.
So to your question, we had a church in Western New York where it was planted off another church. I had a core group saying, yep, let's do this. And I gave them what I called a flinch test. I said, we're going to reach out to people who don't normally go to church. So if somebody walks in and they're not dressed for church, or they smell like alcohol, weird tattoos, piercings, gay couple, interracial, like, can you welcome them and not flinch? Because that's what we want to do. And so we're successful. I mean, by all measures, numbers growing, people growing. Right. It was great. I felt like this is the purpose I had. But what I lacked was the ability to separate myself from other people's problems. So it was normal pastor stuff, but I carried all those burdens improperly. So for 2 years straight, every single day, every day, I had a stress headache. And I told my wife, I've got to find a job with less stress. So I joined the FBI.
Wait a minute. What?
It was the day I got accepted in the FBI. No more headaches.
Oh, come on.
I mean, it was weird. I mean, you talk about, sounds like a movie. That sounds like, you roll your eyes at the TV show and go, okay. And I remember, because I thought, oh, I don't have to do this. I don't have to deal with people's problems. I thought that. I felt it.
Right.
No more headaches.
That's amazing. Well, I guess also you didn't have to answer to a bigger boss. That's like when you were a pastor as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I still do.
That is true. Yeah.
But it was the transition, like from the beginning, I thought, okay, this is me. This fits better. And then I felt like I'm still doing God's work because, obviously in the church, but then bringing justice for people. Mm-hmm. That's what God wants too. So I could still do something that I felt like was a noble task.
Right. So if you don't mind me asking, what were you doing before you were a pastor?
I right out of college. My wife and I, so I went on a missions trip when I was in college, came back from my senior year. Wife's a couple years younger. Right before classes start senior year, group of pretty Christian girls sitting at a frozen yogurt shop. And I had a ring, well, probably this finger. I had a ring that I had gotten while on the mission trip that I meant as a promise that I would go back as a missionary someday. And I put it down on the table and I said, who wants to marry me and go to the Middle East? And my wife picks it up and puts it on her hand. She goes, I will. And I was like, whatever, you've got a boyfriend. I wasn't talking to you. And then 2 years later, I didn't say that, but I mean,
you were thinking it.
Yeah. I'm like, you've got a boyfriend. So 2 years later, put a better ring on her finger. And then we were preparing to be missionaries to Muslim countries. That's what I studied. I studied Islam. In October of 2010 is when I applied to the FBI. My application's in process. 9/11 hits. I assume that they go, hey, this guy works with Muslims. We've got an Al-Qaeda problem. Let's take a chance on him.
Wow. Holy cow. Okay, so out of college, and you're pastor, you have your own church. Going into the FBI, I have to hear this. The last day of church before you left for the FBI, and you told the congregation, what was their response?
So I always hated when I would see this other places where people would leave and they don't want to tell folks because, they don't want to be embarrassed. I let the people of the church know well ahead of time, like, hey,
right.
As much as you want me to, let me help you find my successor. I don't want to just leave you in the lurch. So when I left, they had somebody ready in line to now follow on. So they're supportive. I mean, they're great people. So when you tell them, like the close leaders in the church, and you tell them, look, every single day, and I pushed through it more than I should have, but every day my head hurts. The only thing that brought relief was running. I used to run a bit, and then I was like, oh, okay, this feels better, and there's a little afterglow. So I started running more and more because that's the only thing that gave me some relief. And then, maybe an hour or so after, and then, comes the evening, it's just, here it comes again.
What do you think was causing the stress?
I don't know.
Just people's problems?
Yeah. I mean, it was a mixture of that. That's my simple answer. But I saw all the doctors and, do you have a tumor? No. Eyesight? No. Underpants too tight? Nope. We're boxers. We're good. Like, trying to find out, like, what's going on. And, doctor says, maybe try being less stressed. I'm like, oh, okay. But I mean, it was all that. And it was also, I know it was self-imposed, but, I had to be perfect.
Right.
Can't like bourbon, can't like cigars. Can't want to go to see R-rated movies. And that part of it too, of like having to monitor my words.
I never thought about that.
It just, again, there's pastors out there who do the same thing.
Yeah.
It just didn't affect them like it does, like it had me.
Right. Wow. All right, so now you're in the FBI. I mean, not now, but I mean, you leave the church. You're in the FBI. So besides the second week when they asked you, was there any times where your background as a pastor actually helped with what you were doing?
Yeah,
really?
all the time. Oh, yeah. I mean, I had to. You've got to connect with people. You've got to listen. You've got to be curious. I learned patience. No matter, what equipment we have, guns, legal process, computers, eventually you have to do this. Mm-hmm. And that's with victims. I've got to be sensitive when I'm trying to draw out witnesses, being open to what they have to say. Informants, same thing. I got to show them that I care. And then with the criminals, I sought to bring conversations to a level maybe they didn't expect, where I come into your house, me and 12 of my buddies point guns at you, tear down your door, put you in handcuffs. I've already shown I'm in charge. I don't have to pound the table and yell. I know I'm in charge. And so now I'm going to bring it to a place where I can show you some kindness, some humanity, and hopefully the criminals respond well to that. And they often did. Right. If they want me to play bad cop, fine. I'll do that. But being that good cop usually broke through to people where they found themselves telling me things they probably shouldn't have been telling me.
Wow. I guess you really had an advantage over a lot of other people, I would think, in the FBI because of that background.
Yeah, I mean, it's a mixture of it's the background, it's who I was.
Yeah.
I would see other agents and like, man, that guy's good, and he used to be a banker. People just, I mean, the FBI looks to have people from diverse backgrounds so that when we're collaborating on cases, I can get cops, I can get military. Those guys bring great strategies, great thought process. But if it's all former cops, everybody's just thinking like a cop. You get somebody who used to be a history teacher. This guy was in the tech field. Like now people are bringing different ideas and perspectives. And since we worked long-term enterprise investigations, you've got that time to look at subjects and cases from a different angle.
I never even thought about that. I guess that's one of the biggest misconceptions out there about the FBI. You got agents from all walks of life and careers.
Yeah. I mean, we can get white guys all day.
Well, yeah.
So, you're looking to get whatever someone is, like, it just helps to fill those gaps. So, if I'm in the military, you're in the military, and we're sitting down trying to work a case, you're thinking like I'm thinking, and
right.
we're gonna miss something that's obvious to a school teacher or a plumber, whatever it might be.
That's amazing. That is. I just mind-boggling now because you think about that, and it's like a history teacher in the FBI. Why would they want? Because I mean, think about it. A lot of people think FBI. They think, I guess, like police officers, guys that are ready to just go in and bust down the doors and everything.
What? That was me. But I was a pastor.
Yeah.
So I remember, so my first assignment was to Chicago, and I was on a drug squad because obviously the FBI goes, this guy knows Muslims, let's stick him on a drug squad. Okay. And there was a guy on, and he was on the SWAT team, but a guy on my squad, he looked like Stone Cold Steve Austin. Size, looks like, guy was big. And I was like, hey, Dana, what did you do before? And he said, I worked in a bank. And I thought, and that just shows you. People are coming from different walks, and I never handled a gun before I got in the FBI. But by the time,
really,
no, man, I never shot. I didn't know. When we first started, like, I'm skipping them off the concrete, going, "Oh, I hope I get this." We graduate, like, these guys are up here, I'm down here, and then they're raising a little bit, but I'm getting as proficient as they are. And by the time I'm in for 10 years. Our firearms instructor challenges me and says, hey, I think you should be an instructor too. I'm like, I guess I better get better, and worked on it. And, there we go.
That's amazing because the fact that you never shot a gun beforehand and yet you're a firearms instructor and even on the SWAT team.
Yeah.
Wow.
I wasn't our best shooter, but I'd put money on me if we had to.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Wow. All right. So when it comes to, people thinking about the FBI, like I said, a lot of them think it's busting down the doors, all the action and the excitement. But what do you wish more people actually understood about the emotional side of the job?
I love telling stories about the amazing things we got to do, and
I love hearing stories too.
But like, I'm picking out, like, hey, that's October 12th, 2016.
Right.
Here's a great story. Meanwhile, leading up to October 12th, 2016, are like 9 months of like fighting with an informant who's not doing, getting judicial process, getting on the phone with T-Mobile because they're not bringing things back. So there's just a lot that goes into it. And so tenacity is one of those attributes that agents need to have. Like,
right.
So police work, dispatch says, here's a call, you go to it. I liken it to, I'm going to put a blindfold on you, spin you around 3 times and say, here's your scenario. That sucks. For us, it's different because we're looking to dig down into the root as much as we can, and then find the breadth of who else is involved. And that might take 8 months. It might take 4 years.
Building that case up.
Yeah.
I guess it makes sense. I mean, because if you go in too early and pull them out, chances are when they get to court, they can walk away.
Yeah. And because of that, when I did the post-arrest interrogation, obviously I'm looking for a confession because by the time that goes to your defense attorney, guys like, let's start looking for a plea deal. But I don't need that because I'm not arresting you unless I know we're going to win this. And it's not just me. The prosecutor's not going to let me, because I could bring to him like, hey, here's 8 guys I want to indict. And they're going to go, yeah, 2 of these guys are probably going to go to trial. Case isn't as strong on them. We're not indicting them. Let's stick with these 6.
Right.
And then those 6 are hammers.
I don't know if you can answer this or not. And if you can, I understand why. But with cases, what cases actually stayed with you long after they were closed. Are you allowed to talk about any of them?
I wrote about it at length in my book. So yeah.
Okay, I wasn't sure. That's I wanted to make. Okay.
Oh man, I mean that's what people want to hear about. I assume, because that's the stuff that I find interesting too. That hey, here's a case from ground floor, highlights along the way, but how we built this out. The one that stands with me most is because I worked it the longest was a financial crimes case, and it took so long because we had prosecutors moving, getting sick with cancer, some difficulties. Wow. But this guy in the Toledo, Ohio area, I had estimated stole at least $22 million from investors. And
wow.
And he was not exaggerating. He was a literal sociopath as well. He would take money from people who needed that money, and it just it meant like he didn't understand it. Not just like I don't care. It didn't make sense.
Right.
So there's one woman whose husband died, and she had a disabled son. So she invested with this guy so that she could have, a fund to take care of her son as he got older. And she needed that $50,000. He's like, don't worry about it. Like, we're going to get a deal done. And he starts telling lies. And while she's crying, he's like, I don't, what are you crying about? Like, I'm going to make you whole someday. And he has no intention to.
Wow. Now, how long did that case take to close?
Well, I mean, that took 4 years. I mean, this guy started, I can see the gray in your beard, so I know you'll understand this reference.
Well, wait a minute. All right, Eric, first of all, I got to correct you there. It's Arctic Blonde.
Oh, okay.
I ain't bullshitting anybody.
This is powdered donut.
Yeah, it's definitely white now. Mine's definitely white.
But
I'm sorry, go ahead.
So this guy was worked with MCI WorldCom back in the day. This is mid 90s, and he was the guy who would call and say how much you're paying per minute for your long distance. I can get you down to 12 cents. And so he was bundling these minutes, so legitimately making $1 million a year in the mid 90s in a legitimate business. MCI crashes, and then he moves on to other businesses, and they each had a real product, but they needed investors to build out the product. It was not fully developed, so he's getting investors and spending the money on himself. And then he's like, "Hey, company, sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. On to the next, repeat, and on from there." He had the technology for what later became Bing, but because he spent all the money on himself, it defaulted, went back to the original owner.
Wow. Yeah, I'm glad you did write a book now, because I have a lot of good stories in there.
Oh yeah.
How did you avoid becoming cynical after seeing the worst parts of humanity, though?
I never said I wasn't cynical.
Okay.
No, it's something that you have to be aware of. And the example that I often think of is first 5 years in Chicago, I'm working dope. Our mandate was to work Mexican and Colombian drug cartels. So every Mexican I encountered in Chicago was a drug dealer or helping a drug dealer or knew the drug dealer and didn't care. So that just tells me all these Mexicans, man, that's all they do. And I had to confront myself with that, like realizing that, not that I really believed that, but I was starting to think,
right,
okay, this is all that I see. I need to be careful. So it took some self-assessment, awareness, chatting with a like-minded colleague of like, hey, man, is this happening to you? Because this is all that goes on. And I come to realize, you're telling your neighbor like, man, there's a lot of birds out here. And you go, yeah, you're a bird watcher. That's all you do all day. When I check in the morning and say, hey, I'm going to start looking for criminals, I'm going to see a lot of criminals.
Yeah.
So having that realization that, yeah, this is what I'm trying to do. So if I see a lot of dirty stuff, it's what I'm looking for. It's not everybody.
Okay. So when you were the pastor, you were you had the stress headaches.
Yeah.
But being an FBI, especially a special agent, how was it on your mental health?
I mean, it just wasn't the same. I
Right.
mean, if I could have an accomplishment and then move on to the next task, as opposed to just continuing to build and like nobody's like, if you're in my church, it's not like you come to me and then I make you perfect and great. Now I'm going to move on to make the next person perfect. Like it's dealing with people and it's unending. My brother was a therapist for a while, and he's like, he worked with kids. He's like, this kid comes in, there's another kid after him, and it's just constant, and it gets to be depressing.
Yeah.
That was hard for me in the church. Here I could got an indictment, moving on to the next guy, and feel like I'm making a difference and accomplishing something.
So and I'm glad you mentioned kids. So even like with the child exploitation and all that, really didn't.
I mean, it's there's a couple things with that.
Yeah.
One is, if I grabbed you and dragged you into it from the street, yeah, it's going to be shocking. We were wading in that water for a bit, kind of getting used to the water. So it's not quite the same. So you're already a part of it. And also people would come to me, I mean, even cops, and they'd say, I don't know how you deal with these pedophiles.
Yeah.
I would just want to put a bullet in their head. And I think, yeah, I get it, but they already know that they're disgusting. They hate themselves as it is. I don't need to enforce that. I know that I'm bringing them the worst thing for them by getting them to confess, by working towards a conviction. That's how we're going to get justice. So I can set aside the anger and just hey, doing my job.
Wow. So with the teenagers or the children, financial crime victims, everything else, was there actually a particular victim or case that actually really changed the way you see people?
Many.
Okay.
I mean, working with the teen prostitutes, sex workers, and working with the pimps really opened my eyes to how people are living. I mean, it's something you can read a book about, hear a podcast, but here I am sitting down with a 15-year-old girl who has sex with strange men repeatedly. And I try to mention this to people, it's shocking if you think, if you have a woman in your life, daughter, wife, sister, and you think, what would it take for them today to step across that threshold where they're going to have sex with strange men every day? I mean, that's a tremendous barrier that you and I could not imagine getting across, and yet here they are at 15, 16. So that tells you that they've probably been through that threshold already. They've been broken by someone sexually. And also it shows you the level of desperation where they're going to do it because otherwise they're going to starve.
Yeah. Wow. And you saw that a lot too.
Yeah. And got to joke around.
Right.
My colleague Laura, great woman, very patient. She was working the crimes against children before I got there. Again, our mandate at that time was mainly working towards the sex trafficking, so underage girls. And she was very straight and very earnest. And we were driving this 15-year-old gal around, and she was pointing out places where she had tricked. And then she says, "Oh man, I could really use a cigarette." And I go, "I got cigars in the car." And so here's Laura going, "How are you're giving a cigar to a 15-year-old girl?" I'm like, "Laura, she has sex with men for money. This is fine." But I'm trying, though, whatever it takes to, I need to reach her. I need to show her that I'm not well, I'm not going to give you a cigarette, young lady. Like, you're just going to get a cigarette when I leave. What difference does it make? I'm not putting heroin in her veins. I'm trying to build a relationship with her.
Yeah. Okay.
But but again, like, if I go back in time to to talk to me when I'm like 24 years old and I go, hey, at some point you're going to be in a parking lot with a teenage prostitute smoking cigars, and I'd say, excuse me? Oh, if you say.
Oh gosh. So were there actually moments when, especially when you solve these cases and everything, when justice alone didn't feel like it was enough?
Well, yeah, because I mean, especially with these girls, like, you can bring justice, you can separate them from the pimps who were the love of their life, and they're spitting and slapping me because I'm taking away their boyfriend, and then maybe a few weeks later, now they're starting to get it. But as soon as we had that arrest, I remember the first time we did a sting. We're calling in a girl to an undercover, thinking, okay, think she might be underage. We get her. Yep, she is. Arrest the pimp. And I remember going, well, hell, now what? What do we do now? We can do that.
Yeah.
What do we do with the girl? You send her back to the foster home. She's running away like she did before. We don't want to put her in detention, but maybe we have to, because that's the only way to have her safe for the moment. So, and we get in these tough situations where, like, what do we do after this? What do we do once we have done the legal job to find something that shows that we care?
Right.
And probably, so a good example of that was I'd gotten out of the crimes against children. I was working national security, but my buddy was working it, and he asked me to assist on this arrest that they're doing. And so we had 3 pastors in the Toledo area. One had brought in a foster girl, kind of quasi-fostered her from his church, and then he was pimping her out, forcing her into sex with other pastors, though. So everybody involved was a minister having sex with an underage girl.
Wow.
And so my buddy asked me, hey, will you do the post-arrest interrogation? Presumably, like, hey, we're going to talk the talk. And so I'm sitting down with him, and we're going to have a come to Jesus discussion. I've got all these Bible verses planned out to talk about repentance, being right with God, confessing your sins. And he's like, hey, man, I'll talk to you, but I don't want to bring Jesus into this. Which showed, like, how, like, that's the pastor. This is the man. This is the man having sex with underage girl. The pastor's different. And, like, that's some real insight into his psychology, that he could get up and, praise Jesus. But, oh my God, I'm having sex with an underage girl. So, I mean, that's how he separated it. Well, we ended up, that guy thought he was going to beat the charges, went to trial, got a very rare life sentence, which is great.
Really?
Yeah. He was offered, I think, 12 and a half years, and he laughed and said, I'll take my chances. So, too bad, buddy.
Wow.
But the victim. So the victim, while we're waiting trial, gets kidnapped.
Wait, what?
by the pastor's wife and sister. The sister, who had been the pastor's daughter, kind of foster sister, acted as the bottom bitch who instructed the foster girl, the victim, how to have sex with men. Like, just like a pimp would, they have an experienced prostitute saying, hey, this new gal, here's what you do, here's how you do it. Now, that daughter and mom kidnap their former foster child to tell her, say it was all a mistake, say you lied, as if we didn't have evidence. And she ends up getting away. along the way, they get pulled over by the police. And she, with a gun at her, doesn't say anything. And the police let him go. Like, it was a crazy night. All this goes on. Your original question was, is there more than justice? And I ran into our victim coordinator a year or so ago at a retirement party. And I was telling her about, hey, remember that story? And she goes, oh, man. She shows me a picture. Hey, here's her kid. She just had her first child. She works in the government now. She has come by and spoken at FBI events to say, here's how the FBI saved my life. So sometimes it's good. Sometimes it's a good ending.
Oh, man. God. And now I understand in the beginning when I said how it sounds like a Hollywood screenplay.
That was wild, man.
You're listening to Conversations with Rich Bennett. We'll be right back. I've always said trust matters, especially when you're investing in your home. And that's exactly why, when it comes time for me to replace my windows and doors, I'm going with Bel Air Window and Door, your local window depot. They're a family-owned business right here in our community, and what I love is they combine top-quality products with honest, no-pressure service. I've done my homework, and their triple-pane windows really stood out to me. Better energy efficiency, less outside noise, and just an overall upgrade you can feel. And their doors? Whether you're looking for something durable, secure, or just want to boost your home's curb appeal, they've got options that really make a difference. For me, it comes down to trust, and I really trust Bel Air Window and Door to get it done right. If you're thinking about upgrading your home, give them a call at 410-941-3499 or visit their website at belairwindowanddoor.com. Tell them Rich sent you. And then you switched over to SWAT. That was a big difference for you, wasn't it?
Yeah, so SWAT is going to be an ancillary role. So I was still a field agent investigator, and then then going to training, getting called out, doing some specialty things. And so I think I joined SWAT when I was like 42, 43. So it ain't an old man's game.
Right.
And yeah, I was getting on the team pretty late in life. And by the time we finished, I'm 56 years old at the time. And I'm asking guys on the team, some of the young guys, like, hey, man, what was your mom's maiden name again? Because I think I got the third base with her at the prom, because these kids could be my legitimate children.
You guys were having fun.
Well, to be fair,
you had to, man. You had to keep your sanity somehow.
Yeah, but to be fair, in the Robinson family, growing up sheltered, third base is a peck on the cheek. So,
Oh, God. All right. So, and again, I love the stories, but when you were part of SWAT, was there one particular thing that stuck with you? Event?
Yeah, it was a day almost 2 years ago where we ended up having to kill a kid who was a subject. God. And crazy events. So SWAT gets called out. Like anytime a supervisor says, hey, I just feel like it'd be better with SWAT, we'll respond. And then otherwise there's a threat matrix where guys got guns, violent criminal history, cameras, dogs, difficult terrain. Like those things now it mandates SWAT's got to do this.
Right.
And so I was trained the same as any agent. And then with SWAT, like now I'm getting more training. We have more equipment, some specialty tools. And so we were called to Canton, Ohio area for this kid. And the terrain was difficult. It was way off the road. And he had been violent with the police in the past. It was distribution of child pornography, and that starts raising the threat level because we see these guys knowing this is it. So they'll shoot themselves or at us. So SWAT comes in. I'm in a vehicle with 2 other guys, and we're pushing down the side of the house so we can cover the rear and the side. And we set up a tactical L. Everybody knows their fields of fire. And we're behind a ballistic rated vehicle. And we get set, and my buddy Steve calls out, throw down the bat. So the kid, 26 years old, had knocked out a first floor window, come out with a bat in his hand, deliberately coming towards us. Firearm, it's ended. But with the bat, we're like, come on, man. So we go through this period of retreating and moving, calling out. I'm on my mic saying, hey, we need a hands team, because I think if he puts a bat down, we're going to rush him.
Right.
And I remember thinking how angry I was at the rest of the team that they didn't respond in time when I called for a hands team. Our use of lethal force was the first in the FBI with body-worn cameras. And when I reviewed the tapes later, it was 10 seconds. It was 10 seconds between me saying, let's get a hands team, and them getting together and we're on my back. But in those 10 seconds, the kid came around the vehicle. We can only retreat so far. And his last words were, kill me, as he ran forward with a bat in hand.
Wow.
I had moved offline, so my 2 buddies would have a clean field of fire. And I had a flashbang that I was trying to throw to just disrupt him.
Right.
I throw the bang, and it went off his feet, and he went to the ground. And I thought, that's weird. Like, why would he go to the ground with that? And then, all this in a half second, I go, oh, I heard shots, and all that took place just in so much time. And I asked Steve, I'm like, hey, guess how long that was? Like, how long do you think that was? And he's like, about 5 minutes. And I go, yeah, it felt like that.
Yeah.
But I bet it was shorter. It was like 1 minute and 10 seconds. And 10,000 things happened in that time. So later, I've got my Garmin watch on, and I check. And you can tell me the minute we engaged in the shooting. Because you see that heart rate.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm getting ready to do stuff. And then the body says, you need some adrenaline. This is dangerous. And I spike to 178 beats a minute. And then I come down. I mean, it was like this. Now, if I plateaued at 178 beats a minute, I'm not on your show today because I'd had a heart attack. But that's part of that. That was the amazing part. Body knows you need to act. I'm giving you the energy. And then because we'd been in these types of situations so often, body goes, great. Now let's clear that house. Let's bring it down. And it was, 1 minute like this.
Wow. So those of you listening, Eric just showed me the chart of where his heart rate spiked to, which, 178 beats per minute. Most people would be on the floor having a heart attack.
Yeah. I mean, otherwise I'm, okay, we're getting ready for an operation. I'm going to get a little juiced. I'm carrying equipment. So otherwise my heart rate is, 100, 90, because I got to work here too. But then it doubles in 1 minute's time.
But it comes down quickly.
And then it comes right back down.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So what are some of the biggest misconceptions that people have about SWAT teams?
That probably based on how SWAT teams used to act and how some current local teams still act, which is we would use speed, surprise, and violence of action. So get to the house, knock in the door, and stand on the guy's chest before, his morning wood goes down. Like, gotcha. And now we move to a surround and call out where we have a tactical L and we're drawing people to us. And we've had plenty of guys look out a window. They see there's one choice, and that's to surrender. And that's all you have. And then by the time we get in and clear the house, there's the gun right by the window. because he was thinking, let's see what this is about. Is this 2 sheriff's deputies? Maybe I can take them. No, it's 15 guys with lasers pointing at my window and a big bear cat. Okay. And I already hear the drone in the house. So, it went from that, just tough guy, I'm going to beat you to the trigger, to let's value safety to operators and the public by just have a show of force. And if we need to, we will, but we're not going to run into areas where people are going to get killed.
Wow. All right, with the book, is it going to be in audio form as well?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Absolutely has to be. And what's great about that too is my wife's company just started publishing books. She's been Weaving Influence has been book marketers for 14 years, and now they're into publishing. They're like, hey, let's do publishing. Wow. And I'll be the 3rd book that they publish. And so, I tell my wife, I keep teasing her, like, hey, what are we going to do with all this money we make from the book? She's like, books don't make money. And I know, and then I say, oh, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get a buddy on the phone, and we're just going to riff during the audiobook and just like insult each other. She says, yeah, you can't do that. That's too expensive. But from that, I got this idea. I'm like, oh, I'm telling the story of this investigation, my perspective. What if I get a couple of the guys who are case agents or assisting on it, give their perspective? And now we're going to add 4 or 5 minutes of audio time to this guy who says, yeah, I remember that arrest. We went in, it was crazy that day, and they do that. And then to top it, I'm thinking, I drive down from Ann Arbor and we pass Milan, Michigan, the Federal Correctional Institution, and I go, I have guys in there. How about this would be great. Here's a story of a guy who tried to kill his judge. I'm going to see if I can interview him and he tells his side and from his perspective. That might be kind of cool.
That would be awesome.
That would be awesome.
And if for some reason you can't do it as an audio book, it sounds like a podcast series in the making.
I don't know how many of the guys I arrested are going to be like, yeah, that'd be great. Love to talk to you. I know one at least who, if I called him, he'd go, great. Come unarmed.
Well, yeah.
I mean, this guy, there's one kid I arrested who has psychological problems, and he's the reason every time I parked my vehicle, I would scan the parking lot first before I moved.
Really?
Yeah, he's number one and most likely to try to shoot me in the back of the head.
Oh, my God. But how often do you always have to look over your shoulder?
This kid is the only one.
Okay.
The guy that I had that long-term financial investigation on, his wife divorced him,
mm-hmm.
and they told everybody I was banging his wife. I'm like, okay. And then she kicks him out. He marries somebody else. He tells everybody I'm banging her too. I don't understand why I'm getting his leftovers. She divorces him in 2 months because the guy is horrible. And then he moves in to his sister's place. His sister's place is connected to my old neighborhood. Oh, and geez. I'm like, oh my gosh. So my kids were little at the time. Halloween comes. Daddy, why are you walking us for trick or treat with a gorilla mask on? I'm like, well, Daddy doesn't want this guy to see this face with you kids.
Wow. Okay, Stu, all your time, because you were married the whole time you were in the FBI, right?
Coming on past 33 years.
So how is your wife doing all this time and the kids?
Yeah, so early on, I'm in Chicago. The wife's like, oh, text me when you're safe. And,
right.
And she's always worried. I go, babe, I'm not getting shot. I'm going to get in a car accident if I die. It's going to be car accident or heart attack. Like, I'm not getting shot. So that was early on. By the time I'm in 20 years, I would tell my wife, like, hey, we've got an op on Tuesday. And she goes, oh, okay, I'll put it in the calendar. I'm like, well, the guy's kind of dangerous, actually. She's like, yeah. He told an informant that he wouldn't be taken alive. And she's like, I said I'll put it in the calendar. Okay. From like, hey man, you don't need to be so nervous. So like, yeah, but put a little respect on it here.
Yeah. So she's been a true rock then.
Yeah, I mean, she's been through it, and all along I tried to. It was an adjustment for sure because I didn't know law enforcement. She didn't know law enforcement, but at the same time, I'm not golfing all weekend. I'm coming home every night as soon as I can. I didn't neglect the family. I had an instructor in Quantico who said, "Hey guys, law enforcement's hard on a marriage. Mm-hmm. I'm on my 5th." I'm like, that's you, man. Wow. Like, there's a problem with you there. Don't be blaming the FBI. Don't be shading the FBI for your problems. But because I was there, then, hey, I got to be gone this day. Hey, I've got to be out all night for this. I expected that the family understood, okay, here's a time. This is important. All the other times, Dad's there, so that's acceptable.
Wow. You say your wife runs the company that's publishing the book?
Yes, Weaving Influence, established in 2012. She's been marketing authors and speakers for 14 years.
Really?
And they've been doing that so much that they're like, they started building websites for people too, if that's what they want. And now they're like, well, so many of these people are coming to us and saying, well, I'll just hybrid publish. And they're like, oh, we can do that. So now they publishing books as well.
I need to get her on the show too. I love talking to publishers.
Yeah.
Especially because how much it's changed ever since, Amazon self-publishing.
Yeah.
It has become a thing.
Let me see. Let's see if I can get this. I can show you my book cover. Let's see. So we've been through the process of picking book covers and figuring out what it's going to be, and I'm going to get the right one here. Here we go. That is going to be my book cover.
Oh, nice.
Isn't that? I mean, that's professional. That's looking good.
And she designed that?
No. I mean, her company did. Yeah, she's got graphic designers. We got a professional photographer. I'm like, you made me look good. You must be a pro. Look at that.
Oh, jeez. Man, I have a funny feeling that, yes, we know it's hard to make a living selling or becoming an entrepreneur. But I have a funny feeling this book is going to take off when it comes out.
I hope so. I think I mean, obviously, this. And when I was in the bureau, like it was, it's that joke. And like some of my SWAT buddies, like, hey, that guy over there, guess what he used to do? And they tell him, like, so it was always kind of that cute little thing. But now that I'm out, I look back and go, are you kidding me? This Baptist pastor, that's what I wasn't anybody special. And then I got to do this. And so the stories I tell are, I think the kind of things that people read like, yeah, that could be me. That's interesting. That's insight into how things work. It's not, I mean, the stories are, I think, remarkable, but they're also the kind go, okay, yeah, that makes sense. I've read plenty of other FBI books, and they come off as a little fantastical. Mm-hmm. Not that they're not true, but like, glory and honor and stuff. And like, this is a common folks book. And as a Marine, I would assume that you can appreciate this. I tell the story. Here's a case we worked. Here's how we went through it. And then I follow up each chapter with an after action review. This is why it worked. This is where we almost screwed it, and then also, hey, here's another story related to that, just a little vignette to tie it all together of why this works.
All right. So the title, Irreverent, and those of you listening, it's IR and then Reverend. How'd you come up with the title?
So the original title the working title I had is one that I used all the time, which is Preacher to Breacher.
I kind of like that too.
It is a good one.
Yeah. Sounds like a sequel.
Yeah. But then going through, like, yeah, let's work on that one word title. And, obviously I was a reverend. okay, so that plays into it. But one of my copy editors who went through and read the book, and she goes, when you read it, it makes sense because there's a lot of irreverent things. The humor I use. I have an entire chapter on how I've made men shit themselves. I don't know if that sells more books. If people don't like it, they can skip that chapter. But come on, man. That's unique.
It is.
That's unique that I have a chapter on how I have induced men to evacuate their bowels. I mean, enough for a whole chapter, bro.
God.
Enough for a whole chapter.
That is good. That is good. How long did it actually take you to write the book?
I don't want to sell things.
From once you started thinking about it.
Wife says to me, I say, what should I do when I retire? Wife says, you could be a speaker. And I said, yeah, but why would people hire me? Like why would they pick me?
Mm-hmm.
And she says, well, this is what we do. You write a book and then we'll use that as the springboard.
Yeah.
I think I've always wanted to, but I didn't write down the stories. And I felt like it was too late after time on. So I well, let me sit down and see. And I start writing. And it just goes. And the basis of the book, even though I went over and over it many, 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 many times after and changed stuff, 5 weekends.
Really?
Yeah. Like it's easy. It's like this. I'm just telling the story.
Yeah. You were sitting down on a roll.
Yeah. And like, here's all the stuff. Let me put it in. Oh, let me tell this story. This is a great one. Oh yeah, and then I'm moving into the next one, and like, oh, let me follow up. That long-term financial investigation is 3 chapters. It's the main guy. Okay, it's the ancillary guys around him because we had a pastor who tortured a kid, but also was involved in foreign bonds that were fake. We've got attorneys who are dirty. Like so many crazy characters. And then the 3rd chapter is the follow-on case we had on his gay realtor who also engaged in fraud and tried to did steal money from a disabled elderly woman and was the worst person I've ever met in my life.
Did you enjoy writing the book?
Oh, yeah. It's great.
So here's the thing now, because, a lot of people, when you write a memoir, it's like, okay, so it's done. I can't write another memoir. But the thing with all the stories, all the things that you've seen, just like, I mean,
these are my notes from the stories I didn't tell. Let me put that one down too.
But that's just it. Each case could be a separate book.
Yeah, I mean, if you're really digging into it, there's so much more you could tell.
Oh, yeah.
When one of my editors was going through with me, she said, hey, you got to kill your darlings. And I go, yeah, let's do it. And I found so many paragraphs or segments where I tell a kind of interesting story.
Yeah.
But then when I look at it, I'm like, that's only kind of interesting. If I take out that, then that highlights the very interesting ones. So again, with this financial case, I put in a paragraph where we were dealing with his daughter and how she refused to accept service for grand jury. And so I just, stood in the front yard and said, hey, you're going to take service or I'm just going to turn on the blue and red lights. And later she apologized to me. And, it's interesting.
Yeah.
But then I go, that's, I'm getting off path. If we're going to run this, let's run straight. And so, I feel like making it tighter keeps it flowing. And you go, okay, that was cool. Oh, wait, you're going to tell me a story about this guy who's going to be a mass shooter, but, you got an informant in on him before he was able to do it. Great. Boom, into that, tell that story. Next one, let's talk about informants. Here's some crazy informants I've had.
All right, so how many more books do you have then?
Well, we'll have the children's book, and it'll be a personal record of like how to shit your pants, for the kids.
Oh, jeez. Where something very important. Where can people go to find you and follow you? And I know Get the Book will be everywhere, but
yeah. So I did save the Preacher to Breacher, so you can find me at preachertobreacher.com. That's a great place.
Sign up.
Yep. Follow along and you'll see when the book's coming out. Or you can, look at me on Instagram, _Eric_Robinson, LinkedIn, type my name. My face will be there with the FBI. And, folks can keep tabs that way until the book comes out.
Eric, is there anything you would like to add before you pick the last question?
Have I not said enough? I feel like I probably said a few things I shouldn't.
I think we could go on for hours just hearing some of the stories. And the funny thing is, those of you listening, you didn't see my facial expressions because I was shocked at a lot of these. I was laughing at a lot of them. And I know there were some you haven't told that I'd probably be crying. Who knows?
Yeah, we'll stick with the laughing ones. How about that?
Okay. Well, actually, before I get to the last question, now that you're retired, what are you doing now? Are you back at the church or?
I mowed the lawn yesterday, so that was good. Yeah, I had to struggle with this existentially, honestly. You see guys retire along the way. I'm like, yeah, he was a good guy.
Yeah.
And then a few years ago, maybe 3 years ago, my first close friend retired, and I went, damn, that he was the best shot in the Cleveland division. And then he just became a guy. And I remember talking to him, I'm like, hey, Johnny, what you doing? Like the SWAT guys want to know, telling He's like, watching the grandkids. I go, yeah, what else? He's like, grandkids. Yeah, exactly. Enjoying retirement. So I knew coming up, I thought, that was me. That I was that guy.
Right.
For many FBI agents, you're that guy. You've got an important role. It's an honorable role. And you start thinking, oh, man, what happens when I'm not? And retirement's been good.
Good.
So we'll see next steps from here of consulting, speaking, more books. Who knows?
Whatever the wife tells you to do.
I'll listen to her.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, after 29 years, I know. It's like, okay, whatever.
Yes.
Give me the honey-do list.
Yes.
I'll do it. I'll get it done. All right. So, Eric, I need you to pick. I always let the guest pick the last question, even though they don't know what it's going to be, and I don't know what it's going to be. So I need you to pick a number between 1 and 5.
3.
3. Now I need you to pick a number between 41 and 60.
51.
51. Wow. This works with retirement, I guess. What's a simple pleasure in life that you believe is often overlooked?
It depends on the people, but solitude. For me, that's a big thing. I enjoy people, but I also need solitude and taking that time to think. I have for the past few years really tried to adopt mindfulness. I started when I knew I was going to be retiring because it's mandatory time. And I thought I need to not just take actual pictures, but to take pictures of what's going on and to remember and to appreciate.
Right.
And that's much of what I would teach people in firearms. Don't just go out there and do this and then go, what was your grip? What was your breath? And then what was the result? Okay, so that worked. You need to be aware of what it was to make it work. And so now I try to have that too of what's going on with me. I don't want to just live life and have it wash over me. You want to be able to drink in a bit and know this is why this is happening. This is what's going on for me.
Oh, great answer. Eric, I want to thank you so much. It's been a true honor. And, when the next book comes out, the door's open. Actually, take that back. The door's open anytime. And tell your wife, too, because I would love to talk to her.
Yeah, absolutely.
When most of us think about the FBI, we picture action, investigations, and high-stakes operations. When we think about a pastor, we picture sermons, compassion, and guiding people through life's toughest moments. Eric Robinson lived both of those lives, and today he showed us they aren't nearly as different as they might seem. From carrying the weight of a congregation to carrying a badge, and then working with victims of financial crimes and child exploitation to serving on the FBI SWAT team. Eric reminded us that no matter what uniform we wear, our greatest impact often comes from how we treat people. One thing that really stood out to me was that justice isn't just about making arrests. It's about restoring hope whenever possible. Whether he was comforting victims, interviewing suspects with dignity, or reflecting on the emotional cost of the job, Eric never lost sight of the humanity behind every case. His memoir isn't just a collection of FBI stories. It's a story about purpose, faith, resilience, and discovering that sometimes God leads us down paths we never expected. Eric, thank you for your years of service, for sharing these incredible stories, and for reminding us that strength and compassion don't have to exist separately. And to all of you listening, if this conversation made you think a little differently about service, leadership, or even your own purpose, I'd love to hear from you. What's one lesson from Eric's journey that resonated with you the most? Until next time, I'm Rich Bennett. Thanks for listening, and remember, every great conversation starts with someone willing to listen and someone willing to share. Now it's your turn. Join the conversation by sharing this episode, leaving a comment, or reaching out to me directly. Take care, be kind to one another, and I'll talk with you again soon.